a divisional weekend that was. What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Very Cold Lasagna, the podcast that is a safe and open listening platform for casual, cold, and even the dumbest takes on pro wrestling and football, as well as the wide world of sports in general. I am your host, DylanLasagna. Welcome to today's episode number 86 of this freezing cold podcast. And man, that was some crazy ass weekend of football that we just witnessed. And we're here to talk about it, give you my recap, all the highlights, and break it down for you all here on today's show. We're going to be recapping the divisional playoffs of the NFL, the second round, the semifinals. See who's going on to that championship round here on today's show. Man, that was some wild weekend. Probably one of the best weekends of football I've ever seen as a filthy casual sports fan. Probably miles better than anything I've seen in wrestling. Anything that's going on in wrestling these days. That's why I watch more sports, more football than two sweaty men duking it out, doing all these flips, kicks, and all that stupid bullshit nowadays. No offense, wrestling fans, but for those that thinks AEW is changing the landscape of pro wrestling, nah. It doesn't talk to what the NFL has to offer, who, and by the way, is still getting those 36 million viewers and even 42 million viewers on CBS and Fox, respectively. So, if you want to keep your 1 million, yeah, you can go fuck yourselves and take it with you. But anyway, we're here to talk about some NFL divisional action here on today's show. And going to in this divisional matchups, I mentioned on the previous episode that I was kind of leaning towards a couple of upsets. For these four matchups, these final these Elite Eight matchups, and it remained to be seen if it was gonna live up to my word. And lo and behold, well, it might have, but it may have even more. So we got some divisional action on Saturday and Sunday. So let's start with the Saturday slate, shall we? We had the AFC kick things off with the 4-seeded Cincinnati Bengals take on the number 1-seeded Tennessee Titans, who were getting Derrick Henry back, and a bunch of other players that needed a lot of rest. So going to the matchup on CBS, the Cincinnati Bengals recently had their wild card opener against the Las Vegas Raiders. In that game, they beat the Raiders 26-20, not 26-20, but 26-19. But they had to hold off a furious comeback from Las Vegas, despite the Bengals' own furious start to the first half. They were red hot offensively. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, pretty much the entire offense was clicking on all cylinders. But they kind of cooled off. They went conservative all second half long. And that defense, who was kind of mounting a couple of injuries during that game, they had to stop Derek Carr and that offense from mounting a comeback. And Jermaine Pratt did so. The linebacker for the Bengals, he did so. Intercepted Derek Carr near the goal line to seal that victory. Meanwhile, for the Tennessee Titans, they were on bye. Their last game was back in Week 18 against the Houston Texans, where they clinched the top seed in the AFC. And again, they definitely needed it. A lot of time to heal up and get their MVP and Derrick Henry back. My issue with the Titans, though, being the number 1 seed, was their respectability on offense. I mean, yeah, you're getting Derrick Henry back, but you have a problem under center, and his name is Ryan Tannehill. He plays good on some weeks, but then for most of the season, he was pretty He was pretty mediocre, especially during the stretch where he didn't have Derrick Henry. So he pretty much is what he is at this point. But hey, you already got the number 1 seed. So some of the storylines I mentioned last week was, the Bengals' ability to continually attack the scoreboard, because in that game against the Raiders, in the wild card game, they stopped scoring in that game, and they had to like play defense to prevent that comeback. And then obviously for the Titans, the return of the king, Derrick Henry. So in this game, I picked Cincinnati to win it because I just didn't believe in the Titans offense to score some points, especially with Ryan Tannehill. I mean, sure, they were getting Derrick Henry, but I just didn't believe in Ryan Tannehill. I didn't believe in the offensive line. I didn't believe in the secondary being able to stop Burrow and Jamar Chase. So I picked Cincinnati in my initial pick. And, during this actual game, to kick things off the divisional weekend, it was a slugfest for much of the game. And the defenses were actually the ones that set the tone, not the offenses, the defense. Ryan Tannehill threw a game-opening interception, and that was the first of his 3. Yes, Ryan Tannehill had a game-opening interception and a costly third interception that would set up the Bengals for a critical moment in the game, which I'll get into in a second. And then you had Joe Burrow and his terrible offensive line giving up 9 whipping sacks on their quarterback. And that was from a relentless Titans pass rush. So this offensive line of the Bengals, something that they should have addressed last year, is showing its cracks here in the divisional round. So the Titans were able to go toe-to-toe against the Bengals. They got some scores from Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown. It was all 16 apiece by the last couple minutes of the game. And like I said, after the 2-minute warning, Ryan Tannehill threw an interception on the Titans' final drive. The Titans were driving to get to that field goal range for I forgot who to kick. Oh, Randy Bullock. To get their kicker, Randy Bullock, into his range. But Tannehill threw a bad interception. So that allowed Joe Burrow to get a critical throw into Jamar Chase to put his kicker, Evan McPherson, into field goal range. And McPherson has ice in his veins. He kicked the game-winning field goal and into the AFC Championship for the Bengals for the first time since 1988. So this has to feel good for the Cincinnati Bengals. Their first AFC title game since in 31 years. And their offensive line though needs is a serious concern. And especially the right side, they really need to bulk up, beef up, especially who they're going to play next. Because if they can't protect Joe Burrow, they're going to get smashed in the title game. And Burrow, he has to, if he notices his offensive line is failing him, he's got to get out of that pocket. He seriously needs to get out of that pocket because he's just got to run. He has to run away from whichever pass rush is going to get to him. More on their opponent later. But for the Titans, this is a disappointing way to end their season. They knew Derrick Henry was coming back, but then the offense pretty much shits the bed. And in all honesty, the King was actually held in check for much of the game, aside from that touchdown. But aside from that, he didn't really do much in this game. And this entire offense was pretty much subpar. Again, Ryan Tannehill pretty much had a bad game. He was terrible. Aside from the touchdown to A.J. Brown. He had those 3 interceptions, and he was kind of darting his throws over his receivers. Not a good performance from Tannehill. And you gotta wonder, for the Titans, are they considering other options as quarterback this offseason? So for Cincinnati, they're moving on. For the Titans, you gotta wonder what you're going to do with Tannehill this offseason. So the Bengals beat the Titans 19-16 in the first of many crazy games that happened this weekend. So in the nightcap on Saturday night, on the NFC, the San Francisco 49ers, as the 6th seed, went to Green Bay to take on the top-seeded Packers in that cold-ass freezer. Whoever ate that Very Cold Lasagna is anybody's guess. So this was a rematch of their Week 3 meeting where the Packers beat the 49ers on a last-second field goal, 30-28. And, since then, both teams have been like going on their own merry way. 49ers, obviously, fighting and clawing to get that last playoff spot. The Packers cruise controlling their way to the top seed. When we look at the Niners' last wild card matchup last week, they clinched that last playoff spot. And then they went up to Dallas to face the Cowboys. They got strong performances from their defensive line and the running game, but they had to hold off a furious comeback from the recently crowned MVP, Dak Prescott, because Jimmy Garbage failed threw a wide open interception that's ignited the fire for Dallas to make a potential comeback. But Dallas is stupid enough to make their own mistakes, and they were doing it all game. And that was personified by calling a QB draw, calling for Dak to run it down the middle and slide it and have very little time to spike that ball with no timeouts. So the Niners went on to hold on 23-17 in Dallas. Meanwhile, for the Packers, they were watching this game on their couch, like, okay, who are we gonna smash next week? Who are we gonna F in the butt in cold ass Lambeau on a Saturday night? So they had another successful season. They went 13-4 again, getting the top seed for the second straight year, and they got another MVP campaign from Aaron Rodgers, despite all the immunized attention that he was getting from the press. So some storylines going into this game. Ambry Thomas, the Niners starting corner, and I think it was like late round pick. He was not going to play in this game, and Ambry Thomas actually has been playing pretty well in the last couple of weeks. He's been like ever since his start against, I think it was like Cincinnati. He's actually improved. He's actually improved pretty well. He's been coming along. But now the Niners secondary was going to be without him for this game, and my thought was, fuck. D'Amico Ryans has to start freaking Josh Norman and Dante Johnson, and those two haven't been so good, especially Wash Norman. So that was going to be a issue, especially if Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams were clicking on all cylinders. Meanwhile, for the Packers, you were going to still not have David Bakhtiari despite him playing the season finale, but then I guess he was not healthy enough to play for this game. So this Packers offensive line was not going to have Bakhtiari against a red hot 49ers defensive line. So the 49ers pass rush was going to feast. But despite that, I've been very vocal about the 49ers playoff prophecy. If you don't know what it is by now, let me give you a brief cliff notes on it. The Niners make this late season surge, trying to get that playoff, that wildcard spot, be it the 7th seed or the 6th seed. And then once they get that playoff spot, be it by luck or by the other team sucking, then they get to the wild card round, and then they get smashed by their first round opponent, which is far superior than them. And then if that doesn't happen, then it happens in the next round. And if it doesn't happen, then it happens in the next round. If somehow they make it past the championship game, then it happens in the Super Bowl. So then that's the playoff prophecy for the San Francisco 49ers. So my pick was the Packers because they don't implode as hard as the Dallas Cowboys, and they at least have a better quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. So my pick was the Packers, and this was going to be the team that the 49ers met and fulfilled their playoff prophecy in with the smashing that they were going to get. And it seemed to go that way early on. The Packers were on the gas pedal early with Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams, and Niners had no answer for those two. And then AJ Dillon capped off that opening drive with a touchdown, 7-0 lead very early on. But then after that, nothing happened for the Green Bay Packers. The 49ers defensive line shut him down, and the Niners secondary, kudos to them, actually. D'Amico Ryans actually told them to, hey, double Davante Adams. Don't let him get anywhere near you. They completely took away Davante Adams and forced Aaron Rodgers to find anyone not named Davante Adams. And Aaron Rodgers didn't trust him. It was clear that Rodgers did not trust him at all. And all they could muster since that touchdown was a Mason Crosby field goal in the fourth quarter. And this was in spite, the Niners offense playing like total shit, especially the offensive line. My God, it was so bad. So all throughout the game, the 49ers defense was mainly keeping San Fran in the game because, again, the offensive line was doing bad. Jimmy Garbagefale was not having himself a good game, aside from a couple throws. But overall, you see, like, at some point, the pack was going to break out of its funk and put on the afterburners on San Fran. But a special teams miracle by the 49ers via a blocked punt tied things up at 10. And then you get this final march down the field by the Niners offense with just over 2 minutes remaining. And then Robbie Gould, with all that clock burning down, the Packers trying to burn all their timeouts as much as they can. But it's not enough for them to stop Robbie Gould kicking the game-winning field goal to send the 49ers to the freaking NFC Championship game. Like, what the fuck? Unreal. The 49ers actually upset the Green Bay Packers and put themselves into the NFC Championship. The Packers got put into that very cold fridge to eat some very cold lasagna. So the last dance for the Green Bay Packers ends in misery. Not even a sniff towards that title game. Holy shit. So the Niners colored me surprised. As you could tell by my recap episode earlier this week, I was totally proven wrong. I was given a shit pie to the face. And although as much as the Niners really pulled this off, the Packers really choked. They really choked this one away. This was a total collapse. This was a total implosion, not just by the special teams, which has been bad all year. This was just a personification, a total climax of their shittiness. But Aaron Rodgers, yet again, disappeared. He clearly had no trust in Lazard, Randall, his go-to guy in the early 2010s, Randall Cobb, and who's the other guy? I don't even know. But anyway, it's clear that he didn't trust anyone on that night that didn't have the name Davante Adams. And here they are again, eliminated from the playoffs, well short of a Super Bowl. And now they enter an offseason with serious questions. Is Aaron Rodgers going to stay? Is Aaron Rodgers going to get traded? How are they going to re-sign all these people, especially Davante Adams, because they're in cap hell with the New Orleans Saints. So the 49ers beat the Packers 13-10, a slugfest on a snowy night. But damn, what an upset. And the Niners actually may have started the Packers rebuild. They really did. They may have really did it. So then we get to the Sunday slate of games, starting in Tampa with the LA Rams going to face the Tampa Bay Bucks. This was a wild game on NBC, but this is a rematch from Week 3 where the Rams already beat the Bucks 30-24 with Matthew Stafford's 4-touchdown game that the Bucks defense just could not contain. So both teams had already competed on Super Wildcard weekend, and both of them easily took care of business. For the Rams, they were just trying to look for some kind of momentum heading into that Monday night matchup against the Arizona Cardinals, and they definitely got it. He completely dominated Arizona and Kyler Murray from start to finish, and that Cardinals defense just had no answers for Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Odell Beckham, and Kyler Murray just could not escape that vaunted Rams pass rush. And he was also making a lot of mistakes in that game. So the Rams eliminated their division rivals 34-11 on a Monday night. Meanwhile, for the Tampa Bay Bucks, the NFC South champions, easily disposed of the 7th-seeded Philadelphia Eagles in a total smashing that was already over by the third quarter. The Eagles just decided to window dress and try to make it look pretty with 15 unanswered in the fourth. But Tom Brady doing Tom Brady things for most of the game, it's all you need to know when the Bucs beat the Eagles 31-15. But in that game, though, it was kind of costly for the Bucs because they would lose two of their offensive linemen in Ryan Jensen, who ended up playing in this game, but they would not have their all-pro tackle Tristan Wirfs for this divisional round matchup. And then you also wouldn't have Ronald Jones in this game for the divisional matchup and a couple of other key injuries. You would get Leonard Fournette back. So it was a question of how would he do after a short time away. How would it be fair? And then for the Rams, could Matthew Stafford put together a second straight good game? That was the thing going for both teams heading into this division matchup. So my initial pick was the Rams, but it would have been close. Because you could never count out Tom Brady. And, this Bucs offense, even without guys like Chris Godwin, Ronald Jones, and, Antonio Brown just decided to, quit on the team. But, questions persisted about the health of the offensive line. And then, obviously, Ronald Jones wasn't playing. And their secondary, who managed to get Sean Murphy-Bunting back. But even with him there on opening night, they didn't have really bolster a strong secondary unit. But for the Rams, though, sure, they had questions of their own, including with Matthew Stafford. Could he deliver in a big game like this one? They still possess a high-octane offense, and, they still have a solid defense, led by a very strong pass rush. And most importantly, they were the healthier team that had the potential to upset the defending Super Bowl champions in this semifinal round. And, it looked that way. It really looked that way. And this looked like a total blowout by the third quarter. This Rams offense was completely attacking the Bucs secondary all first half long. Cooper Kupp, broke free. The Bucs secondary, literally lapsed big time as Kupp broke free, got his second touchdown in the second quarter, and by that point it was 17-0 at that point. And for the Rams defense, they completely took advantage of the absence of Tristan Wirfs and attacked Brady and affected his decision making, and were able to sack him a couple of times in the first half. Aaron Donald and Von Miller were having the time of their life pressuring Brady on that offensive line. But then mistakes started to pile on for the Rams. They couldn't simply put away Brady and the Bucs. So they were up 27-3 midway in the third, and then you see Cooper Kupp fumbling the ball, and then that would set the tone for Brady to try to replicate his Super Bowl 51 comeback against the Atlanta Falcons. Yes, you heard that right. So then you go on to see the Bucs scoring 14 points in the second half on the backs of Mike Evans and Leonard Fournette, and the Rams can thank themselves because you would go on to have a couple more fumbles that would lead to those points. And then here you are. You blew a 21-point lead, 24-point lead, and then now you're tied. Now you gotta go with 40 seconds left. You gotta go and try to kick this game-winning field goal to prevent overtime. So you are gonna put away Tom Brady right away then and there. But no, we gotta hurt ourselves. We gotta hurt ourselves and make this interesting. But when it came time to answer the call to prevent overtime, Matthew Stafford, this is in my opinion, had the biggest moment of his career by far. He found Cooper Kupp again. Kupp broke open from the Bucs' broken-ass secondary, and Kupp got into Matt Gay's field goal range and no timeouts from either team. And so Matthew Stafford was just like telling everyone to go to the spot of the ball. We gotta spike it now. And then after spiking it, Matt Gay came on, kicked the game winner straight up, and the Bucs got defeated by the Rams 30-27. And for the first time in 12 years, no Tom Brady, no Aaron Rodgers in the title game. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen. The rematch, nobody expected. The 49ers and the Rams with a trip to the Super Bowl on the line. The NFC West rematch. Things are gonna get a little interesting in this title game. So my God, I am kind of excited for this. The Rams almost choked us away. They almost blew this one open, and they gave a little preview of what's to come for the 49ers next week. But all they did, they gave the Niners some film on what they can do to beat this Rams team. And sure, they beat them back 6 straight times, but they gave them even more ammunition to beat the Rams. So this is going to be a real interesting game for both these teams in this NFC title game. Niners trying to get back to the Super Bowl for the second time in 3 years. For the Rams, they want to host that Super Bowl, baby. They want to have both the title game and the Super Bowl in their home stadium, making history in this year with Matthew Stafford. Meanwhile, for the Bucs, man, a heartbreaking loss. They did all they could for Tom Brady to get back in this game, and they almost did. But that offensive line was just not having Tristan Wirfs there. Just too much to overcome for Brady and the Bucs. And now you have a offseason of uncertainty. I mean, I'm sure they could sign a couple of people back, but you have some free agents that's headlined by Chris Godwin. And I don't know if he's willing to take a veteran minimum deal, or like a prove it deal, just to test his value. But the biggest question is whether or not Tom Brady will return, because he's been contemplating on whether or not he wants to come back, whether he wants to play another year. So some questions for this Bucs team and questions about Tom Brady going forward for this Tampa Bay team that was just almost got to their goal of repeating as Super Bowl champions. So in the nightcap, the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs in a rematch of the AFC Championship game from last year. And man, did this one live up to the hype. But before we can get to that, we got to talk about their own wildcard games. So obviously, we know the deal by this point. A rematch of their AFC title game. The Chiefs beat the Bills 38-24, total blowout. The Bills did get revenge back in week 5, and they beat the Chiefs 38-20 in a total domination back then. So we know the deal. We know the story. This is the new, I guess you could call it budding rivalry between Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. So these two teams both competed on wildcard weekend. For the Bills, they completely trounced the New England Patriots and Mac Jones, handing them one of the worst losses for Bill Belichick and the worst loss for the Patriots in the wildcard game. And this offense for Allen and the Bills, they were just clicking. They scored on every single chance that they had. And they completely destroyed Mac Jones and made him look like a rookie en route to a 47-17 domination. Meanwhile, for the Chiefs, it was almost as similar to what the Bills did to the Patriots, although not scoring on every possession though. So the offense started slow for the Chiefs against the Pittsburgh Steelers, but after TJ Watt scooped and scored a touchdown, that was the wake-up call for them. And the Chiefs went on to destroy the Pittsburgh Steelers 42-21 and to provide a unhappy ending for potentially Big Ben Roethlisberger's career. So this was a big time matchup. This is like an early big time matchup. This could be even like the real AFC Championship game if the AFC Championship game this Sunday doesn't deliver. So obviously the double revenge game. Like both these teams have one upped each other in the last year. So who is gonna get like their sense of revenge in this time around? And then obviously for the Bills, it is whether or not Josh Allen can lead this team past the AFC's King of Kings. So in other words, the King of Kings is the Chiefs. So can Josh Allen lead the Bills so they can host the AFC title game? Keep in mind, this game had much higher stakes because the day before, the Titans, the top seed, lost. So this game had a lot of importance now because whoever won here would host the Cincinnati Bengals in the AFC title game. So for the Bills, this was very important for them to win this game, as it was for the Chiefs. But it was a matter of whether or not Josh Allen and the Bills could get past their bitter rivals in the Kansas City Chiefs. I initially picked the Buffalo Bills to win this game because I thought the Chiefs secondary was still leaky, and the Bills proved back in Week 5 that they could beat this high-powered offense. They could by forcing Mahomes into mistakes, and the Bills supporting cast giving Josh Allen, the game of his life, like that. The receiving core had to get open for him and give him opportunities. The offensive line had to protect him, and not put everything on Allen. And the defense just had to like pressure Mahomes. So I initially picked the Bills. But then as we got to the game, I started to wonder, sure, these two teams trade bows. It was tied at 7 going to the first quarter. But then as the game progressed, the defense for the Bills was failing. It couldn't cover Mahomes. The only times that the defense was able to stop Mahomes in the offense was once or twice, and then they gave up they let the Chiefs have a 9-point lead in the third quarter, like unreal. And then they were giving up like small chunk plays that turned into big plays. The Chiefs offense literally like lived rent free in the Bills defense's head. So that forced Josh Allen's hand. He literally took the defense's failure personally because it's clear that his defense wasn't going to do jack shit. I mean, I'm sure losing Tre'Davious White back at the Thanksgiving game hurt them, but that doesn't mean you still can't play defense. So Josh Allen was like, okay, I guess I just have to do everything myself again. So what kicked things off was a laser beam to Gabriel Davis. Late in the third quarter, the deficit's cut to 23-21. By the fourth quarter, it's 26-21 after a field goal by the Chiefs. But then Josh Allen decides to go ham. He continues to etch his name in modern NFL greatness. He goes on this long 7-minute drive that goes past the 2-minute warning. He gets Gabriel Davis with 1:30 left. And this is the thing for the Bills. Don't give Mahomes too much time. Like, you should know, like, everyone should know this. Because Patrick Mahomes in the offense won't go down quietly. So Mahomes and the Chiefs quickly went back down and pretty much roasted and toasted that Bills defense that has no pass rush, that doesn't know how to prevent anything. And they let Tyreek Hill streak down the sidelines, burn that Bills defense like it was a popcorn chicken, and retook that lead 33-29 in less than 30 seconds. Like, holy hell. So now, Josh Allen was again in a situation where he pretty much had to do everything himself again. So, luckily, the Chiefs defense that lost Tyrann Mathieu, the safety, was doing pretty poorly. So Josh Allen marched his team back, trying to burn as much clock as he can, and he found Gabriel Davis again to take a 36-33 edge. Problem was 13 seconds. 13 seconds. And apparently that's all the Chiefs needed to go back down to the field because the Bills defense is hot garbage. As they let Travis Kelce wide open and get him into Harrison Butker's range to kick a overtime sending field goal. So the Bills don't get the call that they want. It's tails, and the Chiefs get the ball first, and Josh Allen never touches the ball again because the Bills defense once again fails him, and Travis Kelce gets the game-winning score from Patrick Mahomes, and the Chiefs going back to the AFC title game in a 42-36 thriller in overtime. Like, this was a crazy-ass quarterback duel. Literally, this was one wild ass duel. Like, I think he had like 5 lead changes in the last minute and 30, 2 minutes, in the last over minute and a half. Like, dude, these two are playing like freaking ping pong with each other, like super intense ping pong. With, like, my God, it's like, this clearly is the new Brady versus Manning rivalry. But I know there have been some people that have been calling for the overtime rules to be changed. And sure, they can do the college thing where both teams get the score on one another until neither team is able to score. But let me tell you this right now. The Bills' defense was the reason why Buffalo is not going to the AFC Championship game. The Bills' defense, for whatever reason, failed to stop Mahomes from getting out of the pocket. They failed to keep him trapped in the pocket. They also failed to see clearly, shadow Kelce, Byron Pringle, Tyreek Hill, and didn't stuff the run against Clyde Edwards-Helaire or whoever the running back was. So for the Bills, their defense is the reason why they lost. And, they also could have prevented this from happening had Sean McDermott and whoever their special team coordinator is let Tyler Bass squib kick that thing. They should have squib kicked it or tried for a short kick to keep the Chiefs out, keep the ball out of the end zone and force the Chiefs to run it back. The only downside is, though, the Chiefs also could have taken a knee on that, but sure, do what you can to burn as much clock as possible, and have your defense try to do the rest. But alas, the Chiefs are going to the AFC Championship game because the Bills couldn't play defense. It's simple as that. It's not Josh Allen. He played his heart out on Sunday night. The Bills defense, with or without Tre'Davious White, didn't do enough. It's that simple. So really quick, some winners and losers of divisional weekend. And first winner, the 49ers defense. They gave up that opening drive touchdown. They let Devontae Adams torch them at will. But after that, they didn't let anything go past them. They tightened up and never looked back. That pass rush really brought the heat onto Aaron Rodgers and made him struggle. They made him force him into not trusting anyone but Adams. So, and there's also the fact that they had to bring the heat. They had to prevent themselves from eating that frozen lasagna, because their offense, despite some decent throws from Jimmy Garbage Vale and that offensive line playing like total shit, that defense had to keep them in the game, and they certainly did keep them in the game. And as the game progressed, they did get a miracle, and they kept them alive for as long as possible. Aaron Donald and Von Miller of the Rams. Man, that trade for Von Miller has certainly done wonders for this Rams pass rush. It also certainly took it off the load a little bit for Aaron Donald, and it has certainly created a pressure void. It's not a pressure void, a 1-2 punch for the Rams pass rush. So in that case in point was Sunday against the Tampa Bay Bucks, especially against an offensive line that was missing Tristan Wirfs. Tom Brady had very little time to find Mike Evans or Gronkowski, Cameron Brate, Scotty Miller, or pretty much just about anyone. He was pretty much forced to rush his throws or like underthrow it, overthrow it. He pretty much had to get that ball out early and away because he knew Aaron Donald and Von Miller were coming for him. So this pass rush against the Bucks really had a good performance. Like they if had they lost, they wouldn't be the reason that they lost. It was the Rams offense. It was the fumbles by Akers and Kupp that had them losing. That would have lost them this game. But that duo of Miller and Donald put on a show on Sunday. Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. Sure, Josh Allen lost. Patrick Mahomes won. But we all know how elusive and pass happy Mahomes is. But Josh Allen established on Sunday night in the divisionals that he matched Mahomes blow for blow, and he played his heart out down to the Bills' collective breath. And you know, he had to do everything because the Bills' defense just couldn't do shit. So this is going to be a rivalry for years to come. Then those two teams duking it out and trying to outdo one another. Now for some losers, the Green Bay Packers. Man, if you didn't hear on my 49ers recap show on the previous episode, you're gonna hear it again because despite the defense playing a really good game against a struggling 49ers offense, the struggles of their offense and special teams was something this entire team couldn't overcome. Aaron Rodgers, after the opening drive, stunk up the joint. He couldn't trust anyone in Davante Adams, as I've been repeatedly saying. And Davante was pretty much held in check by the 49ers secondary. They were doubling him. And for whatever reason, Aaron Rodgers just didn't want to throw it to guys like Allen Lazard or Randall Cobb. So that allowed the 49ers pass rush to take full advantage of that situation and get to Rodgers like dozens of times. And then secondly, the Packers special teams, we knew they were hot garbage, but holy shit, they were absolutely terrible. They were absolutely awful in this game. They let the 49ers have good field position on all the kickoff returns. Mason Crosby let a field goal get blocked by Jimmy Ward, and then the punter Corey Boroquez, if I'm pronouncing his name right, he gets his punt blocked by Jordan Willis with 4 minutes left in the game. That completely changed the momentum of this divisional game against the 49ers. And now the Packers are gonna ask themselves, like, what went wrong? Like, well, it's clear and obvious what went wrong. And once again, the Packers, sure, they got the top seed thanks to Aaron Rodgers. But then when it came to nut busting time, where was everyone? Where was everything that they needed to prove that they earned it? Let's ask ourselves that. Ryan Tannehill, his performance on Saturday afternoon, man, that was not something that the Titans needed in a critical game, a critical juncture. And, you know, they have to Tennessee's probably wondering if they regret giving him that long-term extension a while back, because 3 interceptions is something that they don't want, especially when you have it in the opening drive of the game and then in the closing drive that sets up a field goal that costs you your season. So for the Titans, you have to consider looking at other options at quarterback this coming off season. I mean, sure, Ryan Tannehill is probably not going to offer much in terms of trade value, and you're probably not going to get rid of him. But at some point, you have to wonder if he's even worth holding on to long term. The Bengals offensive line. I also have the Bills defense, but I've roasted them enough. The Bengals offensive line is our last loser. The big takeaway for the Bengals advancement to the AFC title game is, well, it is 31, but that's the number. That's not the number that I want to talk about. It's a number 9, and that's not Big Smoke's order here, ladies and gentlemen. With that number 9 large, number 9 with extra with the large soda. I don't memorize the whole order. I'm sorry. And I love San Andreas, okay? But as much as I love San Andreas, Joe Burrow took 9 sacks. He took 9 mother-loving sacks on Saturday. And the offensive line, especially the right side, was so bad. It was very, very bad. It was like the 49ers. It was like the 49ers offensive line. They were like, as if they had blinders on. It's like, where's the pass rush? Where's the pass rush coming from? It's like, where's it coming from? Oh, I missed it. I completely missed it. It's right there. Oh, but it already got to the quarterback. Oh, sorry. It's not there. I'm sorry. I'll help you up. It's like, you motherfucker. Protect me next time. That was pretty much the entire story of the Bengals offensive line. And, had they actually protected Joe Burrow, and actually be a competent line, the Bengals actually would have scored a lot of points on the Tennessee Titans defense. So, if they want to have a chance against the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC title game, and for the Chiefs pass rush, sure, they have Chris Jones and Melvin Ingram, but other than that, their pass rush is all right, I guess. But if they want to have a chance against the Chiefs, that offensive line, especially the right side, they have to do much better. They have to protect Joe Burrow at all costs. Sure, Joe Burrow can run on the outside of the pocket, but first and foremost is that offensive line needs to give him that opportunity. He needs to give him that space to run out of the pocket, make some plays, give him time to throw to his receivers. And the offensive line needs to actually look where the pass rush is freaking coming from. Because if they don't do that, they're going to get smashed. They're really going to have a long day in Arrowhead on Sunday afternoon. So, yeah, this offensive line for the Bengals needs to wake the hell up. So, those were my winners and losers of the AFC Divisional Playoffs, and that was a wild weekend. That was the Divisional Playoffs. What did you guys think about that crazy weekend? What were your takeaways from it? Who do you have moving on to Championship Sunday, which we'll be talking about later on. But for now, what do you think about it? What did you think about this weekend's games? Who did you want to win? Certainly, I actually got 3 of my 4 picks right. Actually, 2 of my 4 picks right, because obviously I picked the Niners right. No, I picked the Packers, but I actually got 2 upset picks correct. But here we are. Did you guys get your picks right? Did you guys get them wrong? And let me know. Let me know how your divisional weekend went. But that is it for this episode of Very Cold Lasagna. I am your host, DylanLasagna. Thank you for tuning in to this fine episode in the Very Cold Freezer. Make sure you listen to the show on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor FM, Google Podcasts, and follow the show on social media on Twitter and Instagram at Very Cold Lasagna. And as always, keep that lasagna very cold in the fridge with your takes on the world of pro wrestling and sports. Very cold in the fridge with your freezing cold takes on pro wrestling and sports. And Championship Sunday is on the horizon, and we'll be talking about that in the next episode. But until then, until next time, peace out.